I'll never get used to the sound of that. But no, one time, um, I think I was trying to get in good graces with this girl, and I wanted to show her what I thought was like the most romantic movie ever made. And I kind of forget how conventional, or I guess maybe for a lack of better words, like normie certain people are. I remember showing her Chungking Express, and I'm like, this is my idea of like complete love. Like I feel so much love emanating from this movie, and she did not respond to it very well at all. She responded to me like fine, but I remember in that moment like stepping outside of myself and like my hyperfixation on the specific kinds of films and going, oh. Yeah, I guess to like an outsider who might not be familiar with like some of the language, some of the thematics and the influences going on in this film, it is kind of just a movie about stalking and hanging out in a dude's house and drinking his Pepsi and feeding his fish. Like it's really not. Um, I always expect certain things from people when I show them a really interesting movie. Uh, how this channel was founded on forcing three or four of my friends at a time to watch movies that they definitely didn't have any interest in. Sometimes I get lucky and they really like them, but most of the time it's somewhat a lukewarm response to them. Um, but I don't really have too many friends in real life who share this kind of like this kind of monomania that I have for movies. Well, do you have any at all? Like any
Uh,
friends? Like
I have friends. If the question is, do I have friends in real life that like
uh,
movies? The
I
answer
thought you
would
were gonna
be
be like,
yeah.
if
Well,
the
I mean,
question is if I have friends, like I
I
will very
have.
say yes to that condescending
Okay,
question,
but
Zach.
the question is, do you have cinephile friends, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I've made some online, but like when it comes to like cinephiles in person, I've met maybe one or two, and or maybe three or four if I count like professors that are older than myself by like twice my age. But it really does depend though. But at the same time, like you talk about how you wish that like your friends or your girlfriends or your significant others you'd like them to get into the films that you're interested in, the ones that move you, but you feel as though that you can't quite reach that. You want them to feel that same experience that you feel, but they just don't. And do you think that's a fault of them or a fault of you for showing them that movie?
Oh, absolutely. It probably goes down to the art is subjective thing. I've had so many friends show me songs that like really informed their lives at an early age or at like where they are in their lives. I listen to it and I get absolutely nothing from it. Doesn't mean there's not value in the song. And I'm sure my friend really wants me to kind of gain the inspiration or whatever it is he or she feels when they're listening to that particular song, but I just don't have it.
Right, and I'm sure that you like music, though. It's not like a
Hmm.
fact that you don't like music. It's just that maybe that in this case, like you get more emotionally attached to films and maybe some songs too, and you
Oh
just wish
yes, okay.
that.
If you watch one of my like older videos where I had those group analysis, if I ever fall into a point of like what sounds like apologetics for a movie, it means the other person didn't like it and they're just not saying it on the recording. Like
Yeah.
if I'm ever like on if I ever start saying like, yeah, I mean there's flaws in this, but he's like great. But this is a great director. She's incredible. You just have to, if you knew her other movies, you would know it. Like that kind of thing. I get really like awkwardly defensive about certain filmmakers. I remember being really young
Well,
though, and maybe being guilty of gatekeeping as well. Like I met a lot of cinephiles when I was younger, and then it's not just me. Cinephiles that I meet in real life also seem to try to test my knowledge. Like and it's so boring and it's so tired.
you actually meet them in real life, cinephiles. That's interesting. It seem like they're rare a lot of the time.
Well, I probably have a larger definition of what. Uh, if someone calls themselves a cinephile, then they know enough about movies to know that that's what you're called if you are so called in love with them. So,
Right,
like,
right.
if
A
you call
film
yourself one,
a
I will say
film
that I met
lover.
one. Yeah, I mean, most of the
That's
cinephiles I've
fair.
met, and I'm gonna sound like a gatekeeping prick, but most of the cinephiles I've met
You do.
probably haven't seen a Fellini movie or an Antonioni film, or I mean, a Wong Kar-wai movie. But that's not necessarily what makes one a stronger cinephile or not. Nor, well, that's not the topic of this discussion, but at the same time, it feeds directly into it because I think that like why beyond you want to turn your friends into cinephiles so they get maybe the same kind of emotion or lesson or feel the same kind of thing that you felt when you watched that particular movie or filmmaker's work.
Well, yeah, but then the question ultimately with that is should film be a collective experience or an individual experience? Should we share these experiences with others, or is it more like a more thing that we appreciate a film and come to relate to it and attach ourselves to it emotionally in isolation? Oh, what should it be? Like if you know if your significant other says that they don't like a certain movie that you're just really into, should that be is I don't know. I don't know what to think of that exactly. You know?
Well, I think that maybe by proxy or by folly of you and I being probably film tubers, we generally have to share our experiences with people and probably think they're somewhat worth sharing, right?
Well, yeah, and I'm sure that some people. I mean, I've been able to make those kind of friendships online, plenty of them with people. Not only just through like Letterboxd or IMDb, but also like um, just from YouTube. Like I mean, like I made my YouTube channel, and like I've gained somewhat of a community, and so have you, and that's good. I
Well, in
don't
the
know if
same
we're.
token, though, we are talking about real life friends, and it's interesting that
Yes,
most of my
yes.
real life friends do not know that I have a film channel. I don't really keep it secret because even if they knew, they wouldn't really care because I don't talk about things that interest them. Like,
Well, I mean, some people know about my YouTube channel, but because
some know about mine
some
as
people,
well, but
but like I don't. Yeah, it's true. I don't really talk about it too much in person. I've told some people, but I used to edit at my school computer lab, and that's sort of why I'm on hiatus at the moment, where I have to. My editing capabilities are severely limited at the moment. But I used
well,
to
I mean,
edit.
my
Yeah,
my editing capabilities are severely limited by my editing
yeah.
capabilities. So,
Well, I mean, but like what I'm saying is like when it comes to like the computer lab that I usually edit from, now I have to set up my computer at my apartment, and it just takes forever to do anything. But with that said, I used to sometimes run into friends that would be in the computer lab, and they would be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I have to like minimize the Premiere Pro file real quick so they don't see that I'm editing a video on Irreversible or something.
oh
um,
yeah, it's
no,
weird.
no,
I'm a
yeah,
lot more. I mean, I
but yeah,
guess I'm open with
I've told some
certain
people.
friends. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I keep talking over you,
Oh
dude.
no, oh no, you're good. You can talk all over me if you want. It's your channel.
Well, no, I guess I mean, this probably speaks to some like like mental deficiency I have, but I compartmentalize things, so I'm really open with my love of film with certain people, but not others because it wouldn't improve the friendship there. But that's definitely not what this video is. But generally, at least we've covered. We want to turn people into cinephiles. I think to a large extent. I mean, ultimately.
Well,
Like
yeah,
I understand the feelings, but
but
I think 1 second, man, I think that the reason that we do it is because I think there's a great amount of loneliness within the cinephile community because most of this kind of communities are founded
yeah, it's built.
in social media.
It's built online, and I can't even imagine what it was like beforehand. But then again, like I think also like we're given all these different assets online. Like people are able to become like larger cinephiles because we can find these movies so easily now.
Mhm.
Whereas before, like that really wasn't the case. So you'd meet people at like the cinema and stuff, and I don't even go to the theaters that often, to be quite honest. Like
I might get my like film tuber license like revoked, but I haven't been to the movie theaters in over a year and a half.
the last movie,
Period.
the last movie I saw in theaters was Joker, and that was in October, and I was traveling to Florida with some international students, and yeah, we watched that movie together, and you know, but that's not really the type of movie that I would cover on my channel usually. But whatever. But
Well, I'm
but
sure
that's the
someone
thing.
would say an easy way to turn someone into a cinephile is like, hey, you liked Joker? Have you heard of Martin Scorsese? I'm sure
Well,
that that's
yeah.
one way to do it.
Well, yeah, it's the gateway, and then you can like show them like Taxi Driver, then show them other movies that Scorsese produced, and then similar movies to that, so on and so forth, and then
I think
eventually
we'll
they're
go
gonna.
into that. We'll go into that in a second. I did just want to, because we were on the precipice of something I think pretty interesting, in that
Oh, the
I think
loneliness.
that well, yeah, I just want to like I just want to speak on that for like 1 second,
Sure,
probably.
sure. Go ahead.
Um, Mostly because the loneliness isn't just because of the online spaces that these communities of film lovers seem to kind of find themselves occupying. I think it speaks more deeply to the kind of films uh, that are considered quote unquote art films or things like that. I mean, I think all movies are voyeuristic in nature, and you're peering in on. I mean, almost every film is also romanticized, even a divorce film, like a romanticized version of something. I mean, even in a divorce movie. I mean, even in Marriage Story, at least Scarlett Johansson's
Hmm.
divorcing you. That's like pretty cool, right? Like even then, it's like an unrealism that you're attaching yourself to. And I think that draws unrealistic expectations inside of film lovers when they're like growing up, like in their teenagehood, and might be something they have to work on as they get older. And definitely be willing to sacrifice a love for movies for something a bit more tangible. And a lot more
Right.
meaningful too, because they might not feel the same emotions you feel about Bergman or like about Scorsese or Malick, but they have those same emotions for things that you've probably never heard of,
It's
and you can
true,
share it with each other.
and sometimes it's not even like towards films though. Sometimes they just have
Yeah,
interest in other fields. Sometimes it's not even art. It just depends on what. It just depends on the person. I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely. I just wanted to say that. I think that was like pretty good about loneliness, but there are definite like alternatives to get people into film, gateway directors. I mean, I'm gonna ask you how you became a cinephile. I'm just gonna answer real quick because it's the most typical answer you can have, and it's watching a Quentin Tarantino interview on like Charlie Rose when I was 12 or 13 years old, a special feature on the double disc of Pulp Fiction, and he starts doing the thing that that QT does so well, which is just drop names all over the floor, and like interested teenagers will pick them up and go, "What's a Brian De Palma?" or "What's a Jean-Luc Godard?" And that's exactly how I got into it.
yeah, something along those lines for me as well. It just sometimes different films, but there'd be like lists. I like a movie, and then I find out, okay, I want to know more about this movie. I go to IMDb, I see like this list, top 250 films. You know, list that
Yeah,
I haven't checked in probably 2 or 3 years by now. But at the same time, like that's kind of where I was at about like I guess 6 years ago. That was probably like my real initiation into what I would call my cinephilia. Like at that point of time, I've always liked movies. It's just that's the point. I was like, okay, I'm going to. After I watched Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman, I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna watch every movie. And well, I mean, I watched quite a bit over the last couple of years. I think this year I'm probably on a little bit of a slump. I'm just like not as feeling it. I'm kind of more interested in writing about it. So that's what I've been doing. But
oh yeah,
yeah,
I have old man syndrome myself. I'm like, I don't like the movie unless I grew up with it or it came out way before I was ever thought of. That's my I'm a boomer film tuber at this point, I feel like. But it's funny that these gateway directors, um, people forget like the first directors they fell in love with, because these gateway directors are often attacked by gatekeepers. Like with gateways come gatekeepers at the same exact time. I think that's a huge
well, yeah, you see that with like just like basic film opinions. If you don't like something, you're an idiot. Kind of things like
yeah.
that people will say. Like you get like those A24 fans, and then you have the general film bro. It's always to like varying degrees of like what a good take, what a bad take is, and even when you're more serious about film, you'll still run into like communities on like Letterbox and stuff that are like pretty vicious about like, oh, that's a bad opinion. You can't like this director. It's like, come on. There's like
Yeah.
this established canon, but I think it's better to escape that kind of mindset. But but it's also a community, so it's like, well, maybe there should be like collectively defined opinions on what's good and what's not. And there are, I mean, but still.
Well, I mean, I definitely believe that cinema informs the ethos. And that's what kind of makes all movies dynamic in their own way. They inform cultures in different ways at different periods of time. You know, what's trash
Right.
today is golden tomorrow. That kind of thing.
Or
And
the
vice
other way
versa.
around.
Yeah.
Or the other, you know.
The other way around seems to be a bit more common these days. But how to turn friends into cinephiles? Huh. Well, I mean, we went over some of the good options, some good ways to do it, without saying, you know, whether or not it's a positive thing necessarily. But there is the gateway. There is the appeal to emotion. Like this movie will make you feel something kind of deal, and if they already have an
I think
appreciation in art, that could be helpful.
Well, I think another thing is probably like, hey, you should probably broaden your own like political and like social understanding of the world. And I think films are a great gateway, especially like for I don't really like to call things foreign films, but like world cinema outside of your
Exactly.
own native language. Like you can learn about not only like Japan but also Japanese history or Korean history. You can learn all sorts of different things. You can learn about Africa, you can learn about the Philippines, you can learn about Iran. And like Iran, for example, I was watching a lot of Iranian films around the same time I became an English tutor. And so I would not only watch these Iranian films and learn about the culture, but I'd also be tutoring people at my school that were from Iran. And I even started talking about films to some extent, and it's interesting because I think when it comes to cultural understandings of the world, you should go beyond simply just consuming media and also try to reach out, if that makes sense, if you're able to, you know.
No, absolutely. And the entire time we bring up these points that seem to be in the cinephiles' favor, we should definitely extend that same kind of courtesy to same could be said of music, of literature, of art,
Mhm.
of basically
Poetry, yeah.
of every form or method of art. You should that's how you can learn about cultures. You should read things that aren't necessarily Western or not from your own culture. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly.
definitely a good way to try to turn people into cinephiles, especially friends into cinephiles. It definitely helps they have a background interest in it, though. I mean, the people I do have on my channel, I met in an absurdist like media class in college. Like
Oh, you mean the guest on your channel, you mean?
hmm if you ever hear like David, Joey, or Craig or Ashley on it, I met them all at an absurdism and media class, and like what we basically is just interpreting like David Lynch films. Maybe that's possibly why I fucking hate him so much. But just interpreting like David
Oh,
Lynch films
hmm.
for a whole semester. So we were like used to that. And then afterwards, I remember Omrecord was the very first one we did, and yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun. But the people on my channel do have at least a background interest in it already. I mean, you can tell who's like on the tipping point of cinephilia. You can tell, and sometimes all you need is a little push. Oh, feel
Yeah.
like I quoted The Dark Knight. I feel like I did it.
I was just about to say that, but I wanted to hold off on it. But yes, uh,
Oh
it's
God,
it's like
that's
it's like gravity. All you need is a little push. In the
well,
wise words of a wise man called Joker.
well, Justin. It's like they say. Sometimes you die the hero, and other times you live to see yourself become the villain. So, God fucking me.
Yes,
This has be
exactly.
this is what's become of me. No, but I'm sorry for that Dark Knight reference. I think it's a fine movie. That's a tangent, though. Don't want to go down that alley
We
right
could.
now. Well, okay. If someone
Well,
liked The Dark Knight, what would
actually,
you show
yeah,
them? What would you show them as a
yeah.
gateway if someone really liked the Dark Knight?
Well, I mean, like you could show them like Michael Mann films, for example,
That's exactly. Yeah, I was about to
and
say
then
show them
and
Heat.
then and then maybe De Palma films after that, and then like if they're still on a roll, you can show them Hitchcock, and then you can show them Hitchcock's influences and people that he's influenced. You could show them Dario Argento. You could go down all sorts of different paths,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. And
Yeah.
I mean, you can trace, you know, you can trace like Dark Knight to something else. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's probably a
I
good,
mean,
probably
yeah,
probably a good
easily.
probably a good one because people are probably already invested in like superheroes and like Star Wars, those kind of things, and there's artistic
Yeah.
merit to them, but there's I think you should still broaden, in my
I'd
opinion.
give them.
I've,
Yeah.
I
I just.
I'm saying that in the 1 year that I'm kind of like, I'm not in the mood to watch a bunch of foreign films.
Yeah, and you can
So
do it for things outside of film. I mean, Heat is great. I think Heat's really like elastic. I think Heat
you
is an
you're
adhesive
going
that
to
applies to everything.
you're
My friend
going
was
to
really into Grand Theft Auto 5, and I showed him Heat, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
you're going to hate me. I have never seen Heat, actually.
Wow. Then how are you going to handle this chill I'm about to give you? um,
You're gonna hate me more because I started watching it and then stopped.
well, how many times have you seen The Dark Knight?
uh, More times than I probably should have.
All right, this is now called How to Turn Stylist Substance into a Cinephile.
Yeah,
Showing.
I would watch Dark Knight quite a bit when I was younger. Is the thing. Heat.
Uh,
I just wasn't feeling it. I think the thing is because that's like 2.5 hours long or something. I
There's
just
like
wasn't feeling that at the
three
moment.
hours of
Oh, is
just.
it?
Have you heard of
Okay.
flawlessness? It's just flawlessness for 3 hours.
All
Beautiful film. No, I don't. I don't really hate you for that.
right. Okay.
I I
Just
wouldn't. I
just
would never
just
expect
margin
us to.
marginally.
If I wake up and ever see a stylist substance video about like any Michael Mann movie apart from Miami Vice, I'll like be shocked. I would be completely shocked.
Apart from Miami Vice, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the brilliant one that everybody hates. So you would probably come along and say, "Yeah, it's really good, actually."
Probably,
Because it is
probably,
really good. It's a masterpiece.
probably. I have to watch that one too. Yeah, it's
I think
but
you would like Miami Vice over Heat, but that's neither here nor there for the conversation.
that's
Um,
well, it's friends getting into movies and stuff.
oh yeah,
But
well,
yeah,
the listeners like anticipate more tangents. Anticipate them. I can't stay on. You've seen my videos. I can't stay on topic.
should you even stay on topic? Like, it's like why like
I mean,
restrict yourself, beyond like making your video reflect the title.
exactly. Well, I've always said that style is truly the substance of any video, and I think we have killer style right now by not staying on topic. Kinda. uh,
There you go.
but well, let's see. Uh, and if you, never mind. But so there are good reasons to, at least the reasons people want to turn their friends into cinephiles, I think are earnest ones. I think are well-meaning or well-intentioned ones. Um, I think they come from a place of loneliness, and it doesn't have to be loneliness like you don't have any actual friends. It comes from a space of like people don't understand a very large part of you. But I think that could be overcome by opening yourself up a bit more to different interests, to different like hobbies, to different ways to get those feelings outside of film. Some people feel like they have no other choice but to use film as a proxy for like feeling fulfilled or some kind of philosophical enlightenment, but there has to be other ways because I mean hyperfixations and monomania, even though my channel is founded on it, is extremely unhealthy.
It can be, yeah. I agree with that. That's yeah. I mean,
And
no, go on.
I mean that's why like we try to turn friends into cinephiles so we feel less alone. We can talk about a few funner ways to do it too, before we come up with what we ultimately feel. Some other ways to turn friends into cinephiles. I mean, they're just casual conversation, or even just putting like you mentioned Argento. I've put Suspiria on in the background at
On
many
the
a party, and
Stanley
people get
Kubrick. Yeah.
Stanley.
Yeah.
I feel like yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Kubrick is
I
like,
almost
you know, I
I,
think I would feel bad if I don't mention Kubrick because
exactly
like
like I feel like he's a gateway
everybody
already.
likes his
Like
movies. If
Yeah,
you're
I
into
feel he's
If
more
you're
of a
into
gamer.
Nolan, watch. Yeah, because I feel like Dark Knight, watch Interstellar. I feel like Interstellar, watch 2001: Space Odyssey. Then like get on the path to Stalker and stuff. That's
Hmm.
what I think.
And I do
So
think that kind of praising or sharing your opinions or even love about a lot of these older
yeah,
movies are increasingly more important in the digital streaming age, where I mean most channels only have a handful of titles that came out pre-70s, like on their platform. So like culture is in a large way forgetting these films. So I mean,
right.
I understand it's also like an altruistic kind of noble thing as well. I would probably apply those morals to it, but I could say that of every form of art, like of every form of art. If you liked paintings a lot, I would hope that you would still talk about how great Rene
Well,
Magritte was.
that's actually an interesting topic. I don't know if I'm gonna get off topic, but like you talk about paintings. I know people that are like really interested in art. Like they really love paintings. They go to an art museum and they cry. They go to like orchestra concerts. They listen. They go to concerts and they cry because they're so involved in the art. And then they're like, "Hey, Justin, let's watch Detective Pikachu." And there you go.
Oh,
So,
I must be oblivious enough about that for a different art form. Like I'm sure, like video games. I'm sure I must piss off some gamer. I'm sure that I would piss off like a gamer who really like
well,
appreciates it as a valid art form by going like,
yeah,
man, let's
and
just
I'm sure
play
there's
some
something.
FPS right
Well,
now. It's just
yeah, and I'm sure there is artistic merit to video games, at least to some extent. And I actually briefly touched on that in my last video. I think ultimately, though, like maybe video games need to evolve, and I don't know. You talk about Grand Theft Auto, and then you get them into films, which I guess is just currently the better medium. But
hmm.
I don't know. There's some people that just like video games more.
I mean,
I shouldn't shame another art form, but that's I'm drinking,
I
so.
I must confound people when I'm like talking about all these kind of obscure, impenetrable like art house movies, and then I go, I the only video game I play is Tomb Raider on PS1. Never never moved on from there. They killed it. Like I must
Mhm.
confuse people who really like consider it a valid art form, and I think it is a valid art form. It's just not an art form that
Or it
speaks to
will
me.
be.
Like
Yeah,
movies don't
and that's
speak to
fair.
these other
Yes.
people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They look towards movies like as if they're more like roller coaster rides or something, where it's like, oh yeah, that was fun. That's I liked
Yeah.
Joker. And that's fine. Uh, that's fine. That's fine, I guess.
I mean, it's absolutely fine. I mean, otherwise you run the risk of of gatekeeping, which I think is a
Yeah,
weird thing to do.
and that's the thing. Like, I think like anybody's like, they can have their own opinion, um, so long as it's not like infringing on somebody else's rights. They can have their own opinion. That's what I
Oh,
think. So,
absolutely. I think that's a large thing that the cinephile community is missing. Is there's a lot of sameness. There's a lot of conformity and uniformity to the opinions that are accepted within the larger whole of the most film loving communities. I think that all
yeah.
opinions are really good, even if you just say, like some jackass would, I don't know who, definitely not Zachary Conan. If you just say that Akira Kurosawa sucks repeatedly and never give any like reasoning for why, you should still be allowed to say that without getting
No,
lampooned.
you should not be able to say that. That's
I
that's
think you should. I think you should. I think you
no,
should
no, you
notice
shouldn't.
that
You
it
shouldn't.
pisses people off and then just say it constantly and not not include
That
anything.
that would be true for any other director, but not Kurosawa.
No, no, no.
except
I think that
except
the
except Yojimbo. If you wanna talk crap on Yojimbo, you can. That's fine.
watch my fistful of dollars video.
I
If your
did.
kink,
I did.
if you
I did.
if your if your
I
kink is
did. And
Kurosawa shaming, I got it.
that's yeah. That's we all have our own problems, I guess. Um, that we need to work through and like to become better people. And Zachary here is faced with that glaring issue.
Man, Gosh, I am trying high and low with you, but I can't seem to get anywhere.
Okay. There you go. I like that one.
Thank you, thank you.
Oh,
No, okay, but if you have like good reasons behind like a pretty incendiary hot take, or even if you
yeah.
don't have any reasons, I think it's always exciting, always fun to just read crazy fucking takes of film.
You know what? Twilight isn't that bad.
You know what? I've only seen
There, I
parts
said
of
it.
it on TV. Like, that's the thing where it's everybody like going Kristen Wiig and Robert Pattinson are like amazing actors. Like, I
Or
missed that because I didn't watch like any of their shit.
Christian Stewart. But yeah, yeah,
Oh,
Christian
who would I?
Stewart.
Kristen Wiig.
I Christian
Kristen.
Wiig.
Okay, Kristen Wiig would have made Twilight unmissable for me if she was still like 30 something playing a
Playing a
16-year-old.
teenager.
With the same kind of
There you
vacant emotionality, it'd be perfect. But no, I missed all that. I saw like Cosmopolis or something, mostly because I'm a Cronenberg fan, and I thought Pattinson was terrible, awful. I don't understand why. But
go.
whatever, I
I
don't
mean,
care.
no, he's definitely good in some movies. Even like in movies like Good Time, he's pretty good. And Good Time's a terrible movie. That's
Well,
another
I
hot
haven't
take.
seen Good Time. I haven't seen like Good Time or The Lighthouse, or I saw Water for
Oh,
Elements.
Lighthouse.
Water for Elephants, and it was terrible. Water for Elements. What kind of fucking weird? Like, well, no,
I
that
don't
sounds like
even
a
know.
Terrence Malick. That sounds like a
I don't even know.
Malick fucking.
I don't even know that movie. I don't know that movie.
No, it's very very bad, and he's probably the worst in it. But yeah, Water for Elements. I said the first time definitely sounds like a Sean Penn starring
No, he's
like
not.
Terrence Malick vehicle of just looking at water and like little metal fragments inside of it.
Well, there you go. But convincing your friends. Oh yeah, I mean, if like your friend is like really into Twilight, you can say, hey,
Oh,
watch
here's one way I
Oh,
got.
okay,
Actually,
yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I got a friend to get interested in film in a larger way. I mean, I brought up Malik just now. Like he was a big he's like he's a big like World War II kind of person. Kind of
Yeah,
person, big world. And by the way, that don't mean anything political by that. He has like an interest in the history of the
yeah,
world, and
sure.
it's primarily World War II. Um,
Okay.
but he had like a lot of issues with the way Saving Private Ryan seemed to be almost had propagandist texturing. It seemed to, you know, be a bit sentimental in a really obnoxious way. And I showed him the Thin Red Line.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
showed him the
Oh
Thin
yeah.
Red Line instead, and he was like, "I didn't know that you could do this kind of stuff in movies." And it's like, "Yeah, well,
hmm
Malik is a visionary master." He's like, "I didn't know you could
Yeah.
spend 5 solid minutes on a full-grown man
Well,
crying in the rain, and it's
I mean,
perfect."
I don't mean to shame Nolan fans or anything, but if somebody tells me that like Dunkirk is amazing, I just tell them to watch like Come and See or something.
Oh,
Like,
Come and See is great,
yeah. So,
but there are certain
but yeah,
ways.
they're different gateways. But maybe
But
some
but
people don't want
that
it.
opened him up, and like some people don't know that film can do the things that we say it can do. Some people
Well,
don't know
yeah,
that
because
because
they're only used to it as like a theme park ride, kind of like as Scorsese would put it.
exactly,
And like they'd
yeah.
get like really defensive over what Scorsese was saying like last year. But like they don't. A lot of these people don't realize like what else is out there, and that's ultimately the thing. Uh,
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing it through the eyes of someone who isn't a cinephile. Like the Thin Red Line, I remember my friend getting kind of frustrated by some of the voiceovers because very rarely would Malik let you know who was having the voiceover unless you knew like what John Travolta's voice sounded like. You didn't know who was speaking most of the time in voiceovers until he realized like I didn't even know that you could use voiceover to create like a collage of the human spirit, like that kind of thing.
yeah,
And I'm like, well,
there you
that's yeah,
go.
I'm glad that Malik taught you these things, kind of thing. Um, yeah, that's definitely another way that you can turn friends into cinephiles.
Or like
But
also,
ultimately, like,
I was gonna say like ultimately maybe you don't need to.
yeah, yeah, Justin, we went over the benefits of being a cinephile, the benefits of getting other people to be cinephiles. I don't think that any of them is kind of unique to cinema, and I think I could say this about every other mode of art. Um,
Yeah.
ultimately, do you want to turn your friends into cinephiles?
No. I want to turn people who already are interested in film into cinephiles. I meet somebody, I could probably go 5 years without even talking about a movie. Like when I hang out with my friends, I don't talk about movies. I talk about what they're interested in. On occasion, maybe, if the movie's brought up, sure, I'll talk about it, but like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. There are
No,
other things. There are other things to talk about. You don't have to like fixate on like an art medium that you're personally interested in. If you're personally interested in it, that's great, and you can find friends who are also interested in it. But don't let it stop there. If somebody has like an opinion that you think is like juvenile or whatever, it's like, so what? Like
yeah,
whatever. Just let them live their lives. Like it doesn't. It really doesn't matter in the end. Like I mean, and if somebody finds like
exactly,
a film with long shots boring, well, more power to them. Whatever.
exactly.
It doesn't matter. It's just a stupid movie. Hey, I'm going on record. It's just a stupid movie. It doesn't matter.
And at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like Jean-Luc Godard would say, you should love for a woman. You can't love for a film the way you love for a woman, kind of thing. And I think a lot of the affection for film is misplaced, and I know that I misplace it personally quite a bit. But I always keep that healthy distance. I lose myself in these videos or reviews, and that's where the love stays. I don't really bring it into my actual life. I'm a fully functional human being. I feel like
Well, I mean,
Orson Welles is like Orson Welles is probably the Mark Twain or Benjamin Franklin of like film, in that you can quote him, and it just kind of applies that like what filmmaking is like 99% like creativity and 1% hustling. It's no way to spend a life. I would say relatively the same sort of thing or sentiment about cinephilia. I don't think it's any way to spend a life, personally.
yeah, and you know what? I mean, if you like movies, that's great. If you're interested in movies, study them, and that's fine. You don't need to bring others people into it. It can be
Mm-hmm.
like you can be this own private thing, your own private uh, Idaho. No,
Idaho.
yeah, but no, I mean it's just like you don't have to. You can do other things in your life. Like some people are like, oh, they don't understand the gene. No, just whatever. Just let them live their lives. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter. And like the reason I don't tell people about my channel is not because I think that they can't handle it, but it's just like they're probably not going to be interested. And I tell a couple people here and there, and they're like, "Oh, cool, I'll check out your videos." I'm like, "Yeah, I doubt that, but whatever." And I don't care. I don't care. You know, and
No, absolutely.
and like you take breaks from your channel, and I do occasionally here and there. And you know what I'm doing? I'm living life.
Exactly. And you know what I'm not thinking about? Bergman's
What?
use of red, Bergman's use of color. Not once. And life is a little bit better. I hate to say it, guys. um,
You can like apply your life to film. You can apply film to your life, and that's fine. But like you have to understand, not everybody does that, and that's fine. There are people that are more like literate in the arts, and then people that are more interested in math and science, and that's also fine. People
mhm.
think differently. I think art literacy needs to be promoted. I do think that, but at the same time, it's like don't force it upon people. People aren't lesser for having a bad opinion on a film. It's just
I mean,
like
it's
just
well, it's also
you
almost
know
an interesting, like possibly
unless
postmodern, like
unless they hate Kurosawa, but it's like but
no, that is I okay. I I've given you 6 samurai chances, and you're on your 7th now. You better be fucking careful.
oh my
Magnificent
gosh,
Seven, so much better, you guys. Come on, Yul Brainer, so much
didn't even
better.
bother
But
didn't even bother watching that one.
oh, I'm sure the Chris Pratt one could teach a Kurosawa film a lesson. And with
Oh my
that
god,
statement, I'm gonna say something real quick. I think it is possibly like a postmodern concept as well of art. Art being derivative of the emotion or thing that you're trying to express. So it's already derivative of something. And then the people who appreciate that art are derivative of a derivative as well. I mean that really depreciates your experience as well. The shared
right?
human experience. But that that might be a bit lofty. A bit lofty, but it's definitely
No,
something to
it's
consider.
fine.
And a lot of
I think
'90s films definitely hammered that point home. I mean, God, Tarantino was excellent at that. His films were derivatives of derivatives on top of derivatives, making everyone who loved it a droning derivative. Like, it was almost deliberate. It was pretty cool.
Yep.
But, like, always keep that in mind.
Yeah.
That when
Exactly.
you're doing it, like, it's not the pure thing. If you see like a true love or a true friendship or someone making a true stand in a film, what it should
Yeah. I
inspire you
mean,
to do isn't necessarily to watch more films, but maybe go out and take some action in your own life.
yeah. I mean, well, maybe right now during like the pandemic, it's best that you just stay home and watch movies. But
Well, I
generally
mean,
speaking,
I'm
yeah,
anticipating like the
yeah.
pandemic not killing all of us, and that this
It's
video will live on past
uh,
COVID-19, so
I
that like when
I
they
hope
watch
so.
it, it doesn't apply
When
anymore to their
when no when
lives.
there's when all that stands is New Zealand.
I'm
uh,
speaking directly to all the New Zealanders, okay? You
yeah,
guys, go
this
out
is
and
all for
live
you.
life. Don't make
Yeah,
the
but no, I
mistakes
mean
we
like
did.
pandemic concerns aside, there are things better than movies to think about. You can think about like your own community. You can go out, make friends, do things with them. Try to try to become a better person. Don't just if you can. I get that some people aren't as social as others, and that's also fine. People can be introverted, people can be extroverted. Do what's best for you,
Well, I mean,
and that doesn't.
no movie could equal one intense life experience. Like, no movie can equal it.
Not even Seven Samurai. It's like it's not. There are things in life that are much better than films.
Yeah, like maybe To Live,
Friendships
or I mean, you guys. At the end of the day,
to live.
you should be
Yeah,
striving to live, to Akiru, right? Or did I just say to live?
yeah, to live.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know if that was intentional. I just, but yeah, yeah. To live
I
is
think it
the
was
you
partly
live. Yeah.
intentional.
Okay. There you go. But no,
Oh,
yeah. But no, seriously. There are better things. You should build friendships with other people. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing well, Justin. Akira Kurosawa is still terrible, and there's a pandemic. I think they're connected.
It's yeah. As soon as because like it was around the same time I started making these videos, so it's quite
I
possible that I
blame you.
had that effect.
I
You can
was
do that.
I was doing
Yeah.
the Lord's work. I was trying to keep the society at bay, but
But no,
at
that's
Michael Bay.
oh my goodness. Yeah,
Uh,
that great director.
you know what?
I don't know
Okay,
yet. I'll have to
I
watch
love
more.
I love the Cinephiles who are like, if Criterion put it out, it's great. That means Michael Bay's amazing. Like, I love those guys who like the Criterion purists. They're my favorite. They're my favorite film lovers. If it's not in the
They're,
Criterion, it's not a good movie.
I intend when I put out my Watchmen video, that was just to piss them off. I got all these
Yeah,
Criterion bros on my channel.
I hope people listening know I'm being like deathly sarcastic.
Yeah,
I
it's
hate those people a lot.
yeah, because there's more films in the Criterion Collection. But back to what I was saying, there's more things than film. And if you only like Criterion Collection, that's whatever. But
I
like,
mean, I think at the end of the day, Criterion's high price tag kind of enforces like a class difference in art
yes,
as well.
yeah,
So
yeah. I was gonna say like, okay, so like, why do you want to get? Wasn't Parasite just announced with like
yeah,
a with a bad cover?
yeah.
Okay. So why would you want to like buy? I mean, hey, if you want to buy it, well, that's up to you. But I'm wondering this: why do you want to buy Parasite on Blu-ray when you already own it, but now just with a worse cover for twice as much?
I literally can't think of a better answer than smug satisfaction. And to tell the viewers watching, we know that the cover of Parasite is Morse code for Parasite, but my response is, what's the Morse code for shitty cover? Because that's exactly what Parasite looks
I
like.
hope it's like a cover that goes over top of like the main cover and it's just the original post. I don't know, but whatever.
Someone's
Uh,
brought that up, but at the end of the day, like, that wouldn't help the fact that they put out Parasite. Like,
well, I mean,
and
I guess the
an
idea is
incredibly
like,
accessible film. It's a very accessible film. It's probably
yeah,
one
I
of the
mean,
most accessible foreign films.
we need like Ferris Bueller on Criterion instead.
They
Where
put Breakfast Club on it like 2 years
yeah, I
ago.
know.
Like, that's not
Yeah, I
too
know.
out there. Like,
Well, yeah, exactly. But
but I,
I
I
guess
do
part of that
intensely
is
believe
just,
in the class divide, like the class divide. Like you have to have $40 to throw down on some physical media from Criterion. And you know what? Most people within my kind of wealth status don't have that kind of money, and so I guess we're undeserving as well.
hey, just yeah. That's not. You know what? Criterion can just like back off.
Oh man, I think we're canceling Criterion, but
Yeah, yeah. Let's go on record. Style of Substance and Zachary Conan. We're canceling Criterion.
yep.
I say that, but I'm definitely keeping my Criterion channel subscription.
I don't have
Right.
one. It'd be a parasite on my TV.
There you go. It's I think it's like $10 a month or something. So it's like, yeah, you can also like watch all like you can watch like a good chunk of the Criterion films like just on Criterion channel for like way less money. So it's like I don't even get
Yes.
the what's the point of buying them? I don't know. You know, this
While at the
it's like
same time, though, the reason
high
I don't
class
have one is because
consumerism.
I don't have Criterion Channel because I'm not like when I have money, I like to spend it on traveling and doing certain things. I don't buy a new TV or a new PlayStation or a brand new Blu-ray. I don't have eligibility to Criterion Channel. I never have, and yet I still have Hulu and
Well, you don't
Amazon
need
Prime
to.
and Netflix.
I leech off from my friend anyway. But
Well, I feel like that kind of reinforces my point of like you need to have
hey,
like
did you hear that?
the
Did you hear that, Criterion? I leech off of my friend's account.
this has taken a turn. But no, I
And
think
you know
that
what?
like and anybody in the comments telling me that like I can access it from my cell phone. What kind of cinephile are you, man? I'm gonna watch a movie on my phone, like, dude. I also
No,
hate David
he
Lynch, everybody. But
that's
I think
that's
I think I think we successfully canceled Criterion. That way, Kino
yeah.
could be the king it always deserved to be. It's Kingo, actually.
Canopy is a better streaming service, anyways, than
Oh no,
Criterion, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
If, a lot of colleges will have like subscriptions to it, anyways. If any of you are in like a
Exactly.
university.
I always love pointing out to people um uh about criterions and stuff like that. You can go to the library and you can either stream through Canopy, right? Or you can check out like 5 to 10 Criterion titles at a time. They seem to have a lot of criterions. You can do this for free,
Yeah,
you know.
you
But I
can.
mean most people don't want to do that. I don't know. I think film Twitter is like the richest like subsect of Twitter that there is. Every other day someone's bought like 25 fucking Criterion movies, and that's like more money than I make in like months.
Well, I mean, but I guess some people like physical media, I guess, and like the idea of like owning. I don't want to shame anybody that collects Criterion. I even like having them sometimes, you know. But
Yeah,
when they're half off.
yeah, exactly. I don't mind. I
Like,
used to feel like when I was purchasing a Criterion, I was purchasing access to that film at the highest quality it was in. Now I feel like I'm purchasing the privilege, and I don't like that at all.
that's
Uh,
fair.
I don't.
That's
I don't like
fair.
feeling that way.
Nor should you.
Um, exactly. Oh man, a more like incendiary title for this video would definitely be cancel Criterion. But at the end of the day, also, if you're not a cinephile, you probably save a little bit of money on kind of at the end of the day useless fucking things
Yeah.
that are outdated in like 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like people, it's okay to have some things in your house. It's okay to own things. Don't get like too obsessed
Yes.
collecting things with consumerism. Uh,
And that's really
you know,
a criticism
I
of
mean,
consumerism, not so much
like
film.
if you buy the Parasite Criterion Collection, you're going against like the message of the film. So
True.
just like don't I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, I love when Criterion kind of ironically do those things. Like putting out early Cassavetes films on Blu-ray almost defeats like the like the rag and tag like the purpose of those movies. They're supposed to look a little shitty, and yet I'm watching this in supreme quality. Like Faces.
I
Like you
don't
shouldn't
I
you
don't
shouldn't
know
watch Faces in high def.
I don't know if it's intentional or not, but Pigsty by Pasolini, I would hate to see that restored because
Exactly.
it looks so good grainy. Um, Sallow, I kind of wish wasn't restored. I think graininess would add to it, but it does look beautiful in HD though. So I
I
don't
heard
know.
everyone who restored it is now in a mental hospital. They had to spend
That's
hours taking off dirt and debris
yeah.
from Solo.
Jeez.
No, at the end of the day, I think it's like I like the fact that I'm a cinephile. It doesn't make me better than anyone. It gives me advantage in like stupid trivial like instances. I do think that films have informed my life in a large way, but I feel like other things could have occupied that position in my heart, in my soul, and I think that other things do that for other people. There are definitely vacuous fucking people out there, but I
Yeah.
don't think most people are vapid and vacuous. I think that most people are uh I'm gonna sound optimistic, but like pretty well intentioned, and they do want
Yeah.
to experience things that are important to the people that they think are important to them. So like, you know, the best way to turn someone into a cinephile is to be that person's friend in the first place, is to be very close to that person so that you can share with them something, and they either really know what that means, or they really admire your love for the film and can like understand it.